Facebook. So I guess I'm nervous. I don't know. I have a little congestion here in the throat. So I just had a cough drop. And oh, there we are. We're live. And according to the countdown timer, we still have a minute to go. But hey, we're live. So welcome. Welcome to GoFor Lunch 7.2. It's our get-together every week at the same time here on YouTube. GoFor Lunch at noon on Tuesdays. So glad you're here. And in case you don't know who I am, my name is Roger Harmon. And I've been doing GoFor Technology, which is how we help you make your technology work for you. I've been doing this since 1983. So I'm whiter than I was when I started out. So I've learned a lot. I'm learning new stuff every day. And that's how I help you, is by me keep on learning. So as I alluded to in our pre-show, Apple has a lot of news this week because of the Worldwide Developers Conference. So as you know, the Mac operating system, Mac OS, they have names and they have numbers, and that's been 10.13, but now, Big Sur, the new operating system is numbered 11. So that's Apple's way, or any software developer's way, of telling you that it's a big change. And the Worldwide Developers Keynote Conference is available, or the keynote from the conference is available to watch on YouTube and on Apple TV. So if you're interested in all the details, as far as they've released anyway, you can go watch that. I'm going to put some links in next week's GoFor Gazette for some kind of short versions of that. One is 90 seconds, one is 18 minutes. So if you don't want to watch the whole thing, I'll give you some abbreviated versions that'll give you the gist of what's going on. But the bottom line is there's a whole new Mac operating system, and there's definitely upgrades to the operating systems for your iPad and iPhone and Apple TV. So welcome. So I see Leslie Ann's here and Carolyn's here. Glad to have you guys here, and thanks for letting me know. So let's get to it. So as you may remember from our last exciting episode, we were talking about the difference between internet browsers and search engines. But last week things didn't go too well. And the reason for that, in case you're curious, is I think there were some internet issues. But I think the main reason was I was trying to make my 2013 MacBook Pro do too many things at once. I'm glad you're laughing, Leslie. I'm trying to laugh too. So this week I streamlined the way that the computer is handling things so it didn't have as much as a workload. So hopefully we will see how that works. So again, we're going to learn about the function and relationships of your internet browser to your search engine. So let's do it. So what's the difference between browsers and search engines? Well, we kind of have to start a little bit before that question to where we are with the big picture. So the big picture is not cooperating for me here, but let me use a different system. So let's turn off the little ticker and get this going. So you can see this is live, right? Because if this was pre-recorded, we would have edited out this. So there's another slide in here. I guess that's the first slide. Okay, here we go. So that's kind of a visual of the internet, which is all hardware. So you see all these little, they call them nodes in network language. So these nodes are actually in computers or servers located in businesses, in governmental entities, in educational institutions. So it's a very large worldwide cooperative effort that gets the traffic handled on the internet. And so it's a pretty amazing situation. Hello, Helen and Phyllis. Welcome aboard. So the internet in itself is hardware. That's the takeaway here. So there on the left, you have the internet. The World Wide Web is actually more like software. So you can see we have things like Duckduckgo representing a search engine, which we're going to talk about. You see a shopping cart there, which is a symbol of the fact that you can do business. You can buy things on the internet. And then you see the YouTube logo below that, where you can watch how-to videos. Like this week, for example, when my washing machine didn't drain the water out, I looked on YouTube and found out that I probably had a small sock stuck in the pump. So we're going to find out tomorrow whether that's true or not. So lots of different things you can do on the internet, and that is all the software. So the browser is how you get to that internet, that big network that goes all around the world. So the browsers that we're familiar with, first is Safari. Of course, Safari is part of the Apple Mac operating system. Comes with every Mac, every iPhone, every iPad. So we're going to talk more about Safari in a second. Another popular browser is Firefox, and of course there's Google Chrome. Microsoft has a relatively new browser called Edge. Then there's two very new browsers, one called Brave, the other one called Cake. And they are also emphasizing security, like Apple. And then there is an oldie but a goodie called Opera. And there's many more, so that's not the complete list of browsers. So let's talk about why we like Safari best. Well, because again, it's on your Mac, it's on your iPhone, it's on your iPad, and it takes advantage of Apple's commitment to your privacy. So Apple's product is privacy, whereas Google's product is you, and we'll talk about that a little more in detail. So we like Safari because it integrates with all your Apple devices as well as your Apple software. So other programs that come from Apple integrate very nicely with Safari. My second go-to browser would be Firefox. We've talked about Firefox on other programs, and we like the way they address privacy as well. So let's talk about Chrome. Excuse me. In Google products, which are free, that's because you are the product. They are literally scraping all the data that you put out through Chrome and selling it to the highest bidder, probably, into advertisers and people that want to know more about you because they want to sell you things. So that's why when you search for wheelbarrows and you go off the next day and you keep seeing wheelbarrow ads on the right-hand side of your screen when you're using Chrome as your search engine. So we recommend that you avoid using Chrome. So what do we recommend? We recommend Duckduckgo. And again, we've talked about that in detail on previous episodes. So Duckduckgo, their business model is not to sell your data. It's to keep it private. So your data goes to them when you do a search and it stops right there. It doesn't go any further. So that's a good thing. So they're not taking advantage of you. Now, the way they make money, in case you're wondering, how do they offer a free search engine? They have corporate products that they sell to, wait for it, corporations. And so that's how they make their money. So their free browser to consumers is more technique, so they can introduce their product to companies that would see the benefits for paying for it, because, of course, when you pay for it, you get more features. So again, we talked about Google. And then there is Bing, which is a Microsoft product, again, selling your data, as is Yahoo. So Yahoo has a search engine. Yahoo also is a big content provider, so they do more than just the search engine. So hold that thought. Those questions, we'll get to those in just a second. And these are not the only search engines. There's more. There's specialized search engines such as Wolfram Alpha, which is more about scientific things. So it's not the only one. So that's the search engine. So to get to a search engine, you have to have a browser. To get on the internet, you have to have a browser, and then that browser gets you to the search engine. So now let's see what our questions are. So, question from Leslie Ann: does China and Japan not connect to the U.S.? Yes, they do. So all the countries in the world, Russia, China, Japan, Korea, everybody is connected on the World Wide Web. So they're all connected. Hello, Ann. So we got some buffering. Okay. So Leslie Ann says, I don't use Chrome and still the ads of something I was looking at. Okay, very good question. So what's happening there is you are using Amazon. So unfortunately, there's no choice. Well, excuse me, there is a choice. I mean, you can go to Walmart and you can go to other sites to do shopping. But unfortunately, Amazon, and probably Walmart too, I don't know for sure, they are also selling your information to advertisers. So even if you don't use Chrome or Yahoo, your information can be sold just because you're browsing on Amazon, that thing. So that's why that's happening. Yep, it does happen for days. So that is pretty much our presentation. So any other questions about browsers versus search engines? And of course, you know, when you go into your browser at the very top, we'll pretend like this is our browser screen. Up here, you have a URL field, which is where you can either search for a specific address like apple.com, or you can put in a search term like wheelbarrows and find all the companies that want to sell you a wheelbarrow. So Anne asks, oh, wait a minute, let's get Alexis here. So if you change from one search engine to another, how do you move your bookmarks? That is a great question. So in most search engines, we can export. So you can export your bookmarks. So it just is actually a text file, which is a basic file that most programs can read. So before you change to a different browser, so if you're, say you're on Google and you decide, no, I want to be on Duckduckgo. So you can go into Google, into the bookmarks, and you can export them. So that is how you do that. And then you go to Duckduckgo and you go to the bookmarks inside Duckduckgo and you can import them. So that is doable because they use a standard file. So Anne is asking, let's put this question right up here so we can all see it. And Anne is wanting to know. Okay, so we answered that question. Very good. And okay, so we got your question, Anne. Thanks for putting that up there. So, I don't see any other questions. So let me tell you that if you do have questions, you can certainly email them to me. You can give me a phone call. And also, we are still coming to you live and in person because we have made by our graphics department. We won't mention any names, but the initials are AG. So we can't see you in person. We also can do screen sharing and help you remotely. So Carolyn says, let's see, let's bring this up so we can all see it. Carolyn says that my Word products will not work with Catalina, so I've still stayed with Mojave. That's true, Carolyn, because Microsoft Office, the version of Microsoft Office, is using a 32-bit architecture. And with Catalina, Apple had been telling developers for 5 or 6 years that 32-bit was not going to be supported, and Catalina was the drop-dead time that they were not supporting the older 32-bit programs. So you either have to update to a new version of Office, which is available. Unfortunately, it's kind of hard to get to a one-time only payment version of Office. They keep pushing you to do the Office 365 subscription, which you have to pay for every year. So there are some alternatives. One is called Libre Office, which is a free program that you can download. And it is very similar to Office. It can read and write the same files as Word and Excel and all the other Office programs. So, and then of course the other thing you can do is learn how to use Pages, which is quite a bit different. But again, like Safari, it is highly integrated into the Apple ecosystem. So those are the alternatives to Office. And of course, you know, Catalina was last year's operating system, and Big Sur will be this year's operating system in September or October. So you will be getting further behind and not getting the new features that Big Sur is going to offer you. Okay. So Leslie Ann, no, you do not have to upgrade. So Apple generally supports the last four generations of the operating system. So right now you can use Catalina if you have a 2012 or later Mac. Generally, there's a couple exceptions to that rule. So I'm guessing that next year you may have to have a 2013 Mac to run Big Sur. So it kind of just, you know, each year it goes along like that. So you do not have to upgrade right away. Okay, Anne wants to know about Photoshop. So Photoshop, again, is a subscription program now. So Adobe wants to get you money every year. So the good news is that they update it on a continuous basis instead of once a year. So that's the plus. Of course, the bad news is you have to pay for it. Now, there is a program called Pixelmator, and that is a one-time only program that comes in two versions, a pro version and a not-so-pro version. So you might want to look at Pixelmator as a Pixelmator, Pixelmater, I believe is the spelling. So look at Pixelmator as a replacement for Photoshop, and there's actually at least one other one out there. So if you just do a search in DuckDuckGo for Photoshop replacement for the Mac, you will see reviews and, oh, you just paid for it, Ann, sorry. Okay, so Alexis is saying that Openoffice, which is the same as a Libre Office, so it's built on the same foundation. Libre Office seems to be more highly favored in the Mac community than Openoffice. It's seems to be better supported. LibreOffice is better supported than Openoffice. It has more features. So these are what they call open source. So what open source means is that lots of different people can contribute to upgrades and refinements and bug fixing in a program. So I would look at LibreOffice before Openoffice, but that's a good question. So, well, thank you all for joining us. Again, I can help you remotely or in person. And if you would be so kind as to hit the subscribe button, then that would help me. If I get 100 subscribers, then I can have a nice little custom URL that will make it easier for you to find my channel. So I'm trying to make the subscribe button pop up again, but I guess it only wants to do that once. So, okay. Well, thanks, gang. Good to see you all here. And it's my way of keeping in touch between our visits. And there's so much happening in the Mac world that I just needed a vehicle to get the news out, and at the same time kind of building that foundation so that you can be a more informed user of your Apple technology. So, thanks a lot. We'll see you next week.